Morning. Welcome to the basement. We rearranged it a little bit. We wanted to make a better space for the treadmill, which you can see over my shoulder back where the office used to be, but we didn't account for the morning sun over here. So, no matter, because most of the lesson is going to be on the screen. But this is intense. Let's take a look at what we're doing today. Everything that you need for today is going to be under assignment 6.34. I know you're reading that novel, but you should be reading this novel, Debate. See, today was the day that your last reading assignment for Roots of Thought was due. You should have just finished your independently chosen novel out of the three choices that we had, all of which are Roots of Thought texts and have themes of society and leadership and humanity in them. And so now we have 2/3 of the class that has not read your text, and your job is to pitch to them why they missed out, why they should have completed their Roots of Thought experience with the novel that you chose because it was the text to read in this course. The debate format is a little bit different. So I am going to call it still the debate. I know you're reading that novel, but you should be reading this novel, Debate 2020. And I'm going to use an old presentation I have for it, but we're not going to do all the pieces because we're not going to have a debate. We have neither the time or the resources. What I do want you to focus on is which of these three arguments do you think you can make about the novel that you read? This is why you had a exit ticket that prepped a little bit on this a couple days ago. These are all topics of fiction techniques or types of fiction techniques that you've been focusing on in the evidence collector: symbols, characters, images. And so you're going to want to argue that your classmates should have read your novel because it has either the most relatable character, relatable meaning by looking at that character's experience and comparing it to our own or the experience of people we know, we learn more about that experience. Most memorable image, as in there is a scene or a description that sticks with you and recolors your perception of the world thanks to the work of that author. Or the most fascinating symbol, an idea of metaphorical nature that keeps you thinking, makes you think about the theme of the novel long after you put the novel down. So we're not going to break out into our novel groups, and we won't be able to use each other to fix any comprehension issues, as in, so I didn't get this one part of the novel. We're just not going to be together for that. But you are going to be splitting here. So when you split the novel into debate teams, instead of saying you do this one, you do that one to each other, you're just going to decide which of these three Google Docs that you're going to fill out. There's one for memorable image, one for fascinating symbol, and one for relatable character. So instead of doing this in groups and deciding who's going to be on what team within those groups, just pick which one of these three ideas that you can do. You're building an argument on these debate organizers, and this is as far as the old debate format will be able to go in the remote learning format. So instead of bringing this all to debate, you're just going to use the organizer. If we're being honest, what is this an advertisement for? It's an advertisement for using your evidence collector. If your evidence collector is complete, you'll have an easier time of this. Reminder that that is due tomorrow, all 9 tables. And of course, I'll be firing up the Google Meet and sitting there for those of you who need help. All right, so there's going to be no debate process, so I'll shut this down from here. Let's talk about how you actually complete this. So here's most memorable image as an example. These exterior texts, this is like the sentence that you would say if you were arguing in front of the class. You should have read Lord of the Flies because it has the most memorable image. Right? So you don't read name of novel, you would have read what was inside this blank. And you're not going to be reading or performing this, just organizing it. So we'd continue. The image of blank is memorable because blank. Go on from there. All right, so it's a graphic organizer, and it is these spaces that you're going to complete today. You're imagining that you would read this text. This text is just to help you know what to put inside each of the boxes. For further help, I can model this with a made-up sheet. This isn't one of the choices. You're choosing between memorable image, fascinating symbol, relatable character. But what if I wrote about impactful scene? So I'm going to say, you should have read Fahrenheit 451 because it has the most impactful scene. The scene of the woman with a library setting herself on fire is impactful because it is a disturbing image and a reveal to Guy the power of independent thinking and the value that people will put on it. Guy can't get the image of the woman burning out of his head. The author describes the scene by writing, evidence. All right, and I'm gonna go back in time because I know that I have this quote all set, ready to go. I'm going to choose what the woman says when she sets herself on fire. Here we go. Play the man, Master Ridley. We shall this day light such a candle by God's grace in England as I trust shall never be put out. Looking at the scene, the reader understands its impact because the allusion to Reformation, rebellion, is a reminder of how the act of independent thought is a repeated one in human history. May I take a moment and point out that I am kind of spitballing this. Yours won't come just to mind like this. Don't let that be what stops you of like, well, when Mr. Honor was doing it, he just typed sentence after sentence. No, you're going to still, like any other graphic organizer, you're going to need to pick and choose where your strengths and weaknesses lie and decide which of those you're going to address first and which of those you might save for later. You might have to write a sentence and then come back to it. I'm able to do this in order, sentence by sentence, because I've taught Fahrenheit 451 quite a bit. I just want you to be able to see what a completed model of this activity would look like. The second support of the idea, maybe I would write about the violence of the scene. The third support of the main idea, I would probably write about how on the drive back, they even missed the fire station, which tells us that the woman saying, "Play the man, Master Ridley," because they talk about it on the fire truck afterwards, clearly stuck with them. Therefore, without a doubt, Fahrenheit 451 has the most impactful scene because just like the image of a brave and principled woman martyring herself for the cause, stuck with Guy Montag and his peers, so too does this image stick with the reader. Mic drop, right? Because it is a debate. So that's kind of the tone that you are taking. This is as far as this activity will go. It won't be turned into actual debate. It's going to be a sum up of the novel as a good last activity now that you have finished all 7 reading assignments. If we get a couple of good ones, maybe there'll be an opportunity for me to read them, but don't let that be what stops you from planning, because, if I plan out a debate, Mr. Honor is going to make me read it. Now, we don't have time. This is just a good way to reflect on what you have read. If you do finish this today, move on to the evidence collector, because that's due tomorrow. All right, I'll be in the Google Meet, and since it will be later today, hopefully this isn't what I look like during the Google Meet. Okay, get to work.